Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. I thank you so much for taking the time to tune in and listen to Step Into Your Sunshine today. On this day, you guys are in for a treat. I have this beautiful woman right here in front of me that we will be discussing her story today. I would love for her to introduce herself.
Okay, thank you so much. Hi, so I'm Liz Clifton and I'm founder of Family Dog Connection and Take 3 for You. And I'm on a mission to empower at least 3 million individuals of any species to create the clear, calm, connected confidence to choose to be themselves with anyone, anywhere, and take at least 3 minutes of daily self-care.
That's so beautiful. I love it. 3 million people. She is on a mission to impact our world. Now, I love a little bit what you said there when you said didn't matter the species. Can you go in and talk about that for a second? What do you mean by that?
Yeah, absolutely. So for me, all species deserve to feel that clear, calm confidence that we're all striving for, like the step into your sunshine, the stepping into you, into that big version of you, into that deep version of you, the one that you feel when you're at your most joyous moment, the one that you feel when you're completely in love. You've got that beautiful feeling of that loving energy. And all species experience those moments. And for me, all species get to create that calm confidence. We rescued our first Romanian rescue dog. And with her, I built up my self-confidence, built up her self-confidence, built up our trust, our connection with each other. And then that ripples out to everyone around us, like no matter what species. So yeah, so that's where the every species comes in.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that with us. So my first question for you today is, what were some of the defining moments in your life that shaped who you are?
Yeah, I love this one. So the first thing that comes to mind is when I'm a little tiny girl. So I'm really, really small and I'm in school and my sister went to the same school as me and we're both in the chess team. And I'm really excited. There's hardly any girls that are allowed in the chess team, hardly any girls that go to these competitions. I'm going along, I'm enjoying it. And then I get to the final. I'm in the final with my sister and she beats me. Now, my sister's 2 years younger than me. And from that point on, I went, oh, I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough to do this. The teachers were like, oh, your sister's better than you. We're going to put her in all the competitions now. And so at like 8, 9 years old, I'm done. I've retired. That's the end. And that kind of repeated through my life. With my mum, she was forced to have an abortion by her mum when a couple of years before I was born. So when I was born, I wasn't the first child my mum wanted. She wanted the baby that she wasn't able to have. And I think with me, there was always that emotional, well, historically, there was always that emotional like attachment for her. So there was always this, I wasn't quite what she wanted me to be. My sister looks just like her. So everyone would go, oh, she looks so like you. And for me, they go, oh, she looks like, my dad's side of the family. So all these little things kind of built up. And I just felt not enough, not good enough. That continued as I went into uni. I struggled, with some of my first subjects that I was doing. And they were just, oh, you're just not enough. You just, it's not good enough. So I changed my subject, did really well, like really enjoyed it. And then I got into a relationship with my ex-husband and it was the same. I was never quite enough. I was always striving to please him, which was tricky because he wasn't in a place to be able to be pleased by anything. So it wasn't like a good, healthy relationship. I was silencing myself, silencing my voice, just living through serving everybody else, making sure that my daughters had everything they needed, he had what he needed, and I just got kind of lost underneath. And then I finally had a couple of words that were spoken to me. And at the time I was working like 3 jobs around my kids who were in school, around, the husband as well. So working a night job and then 2 sort of day jobs as well. And the night job was in a store, in a shop. So I'd get home from this night job, and my youngest at that point was nearly 2. And I was still breastfeeding her for her to go to sleep. And that evening, when I was at work, someone said, "Oh, when did you stop, feeding?" I said, "Oh, I still am." And they went, "Why?" And I went, "Oh my goodness, I have a choice. I don't have to keep feeding her. She doesn't need me to keep feeding her." It was the only bit of milk she had in the whole day. It was just to get her to sleep at like 12:30, 1, 2 a.m. when I got home from work. This was not healthy sleeping for her. It was definitely not healthy for me. So that night when I went back, she was still awake. I gave her water from a sippy cup. She fell asleep. And from that point forward, I started to know I had a choice. That then led me very quickly to stepping out of that 15-year, like really negative relationship for all of us, really. The one good thing was the beautiful girls that we've brought into the world, and they continue to be beautiful, glorious girls. But from there, I began to go deeper into choices. What choices can I make? How is my voice? And actually, I come back to where I began as a little kid, and I was walking like up and down this bus. I had no hair, I had no teeth, and I'm just acting, just like listening to people and making people smile, like sharing that love. And that's where I've come back to today.
Oh, I love this so much of you telling us your story and bearing your soul and the harder times in your life for us so that other people can relate to you. And I know that the people that tune in and listen to this episode will be able to relate. And there's a few things in your stories that also remind me of mine. And one of the first things that you said was about your sister and her being younger. Now, I don't know the age difference between yours and mine in comparison to me, but mine is 6.5 years younger than me. And one thing that she is extremely good at, I'm really gifted, is creativity. She just has it like when you meet people and it's just like oozing out of their fingertips, and they just like they touch something and it turns to gold. This is my sister, and she just has the capacity to do anything creative when it comes to painting, drawing, fabricating, making, sewing, crocheting. It doesn't matter what it is. It's like she just knows instinctually how to do it, and it is an amazing gift. And yet that is not something that I have. I love creativity. There's lots of creativity in my businesses, but I do not have that instinctual creative nature about me, that things just turn into gold when I do it. And so when me and her were doing some similar things as I was growing up, I could experience that same mentality, like she's so much younger than me and she's so much better than me at everything that has to do with creativity. And it was frustrating. And it also, it was amazing to watch her blossom, but it was simultaneously frustrating because it did cause some jealousy for me on my side, because I'm like, I want to be like that. Yet I was not. I found my path, but I could really relate to that story because for me, it was a very similar thing, that when I was a middle child out of 4, and when I saw that my siblings were better at something than then I was like, this isn't really my thing. I don't think I'll develop any further, because obviously somebody has already claimed that that is their skill set. And so I 100% can relate to that story. And I think many people that have siblings, older or younger, can relate to that, is that there's always this kind of, well, if they're better than me, I might as well just not try. And cultivating that into your adult life, it's interesting how that kind of comes out, and as you age and you become an adult and you start a family and those types of things, is some of those things never quite go away. And how do you handle those differences or acknowledge them and be like, okay, yeah, I was like this when I was younger, but now as I've grown and evolved, I would like to acknowledge this but move past it, because we're not competition anymore, we're family.
Yeah, I love that. And it comes down to that whole competition with anyone, doesn't it? So as a kid, it's with your siblings. And then as we step out into the world, it's your peers, it's your friends, it's potentially, sort of competitors in whatever work you're doing. And you're like, oh, am I good enough? Yes, you are. You're absolutely, totally good enough, exactly as you are. And that's the inner dialogue that I have for myself, and that I know we both are supporting others to step into, because there will always be someone that's better at you at something. But you know what? It doesn't matter, because you're you, and there's only one you, and you are a perfect you. No matter if you're doing a bit of tiredness that day, no matter if you're doing a bit of frustration that day, you are the perfect you, because you are you. And I think being able to build that up and begin to really give yourself that self-love and allow that love to pour into you, and that praise and that gratitude from other people as well, is massive. And as you begin that journey, then you're okay, even in the most difficult moments, and we all still get them. It doesn't matter how far down these like self-development, personal development road you are, those moments still throw you sometimes. And you're like, okay, come back to me, like take a breath, come back to your heart, come back to your energy, come back to something you love doing. Like something you can control, something you really enjoy. And then you're okay. You're still there. You're still you, and you're still a perfect you.
Yeah, so much of that. Oh my goodness. Ladies and gentlemen, if you couldn't hear it in her voice, I have her right in front of me, and I can just feel the passion flowing out of her when she talks about this, because really, yes, I agree with all of this. And what's interesting is that in two ways, I've just had this conversation kind of in different types of ways. On my first podcast episode, I talk about weight. And at the end of it, we talk about, I have you, the listeners and everybody, go through a mantra that my weight does not determine my worth. My weight does not determine my worth. And it's the same type of idea here, that the setbacks, your upbringing, your experiences in your life do not determine your worth. And so much of that, so I can just feel it. Yes, 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 yes. And so something else I wanted to talk about when you first replied was about breastfeeding, and that you found your exit plan, or we'll say you found yourself, that you were able to step into your sunshine when somebody made you realize that you had a choice. And that is incredible. For me, exactly the opposite occurred, where and I knew I had a choice from the beginning, but here in the culture where I live in France, I find that it's not super supportive of the breastfeeding journey in my own experiences. And being raised with a nurse as a mother, and in the US, it's more prevalent in the society to long-term nursing. And so when I first started nursing here, the doctors would ask me, how much did you feed your daughter? Well, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, to be frank and honest, like just a boobful, I don't know. And they acted like I was like some kind of alien, where I thought, I must be doing too much. Like I must be doing too much, because I'm adamant about breastfeeding, yet I'm being told by everybody else, like, well, are you sure? Maybe it's only beneficial for the first 3 months. Are you sure you should be doing this? Are you sure that you should continue? And I had many women around me kind of questioning me about how long or when should I stop breastfeeding. I was constantly being asked when I should stop. And I felt like I was on the other side fighting for my right and my choice to continue to breastfeed. And my goodness, I felt like constantly, like we've talked about, is like society trying to mold me into a mother that I didn't want to become. And it's so frustrating. I mean, I know you've had your own experience with breastfeeding that led you into stepping into your true self. And then I had mine where I had to kind of remember that everybody on the outside are simply on the outside. They're not me. They're not the one that's breastfeeding my daughter every day. They're not the one that has to go through the pain of breastfeeding or the long hours or sleepless nights or time away from my husband or my family to be there and breastfeed her. And so their opinions don't matter. I'm the one in the arena fighting for what I want. And just like for you, you were the one in the arena and somebody was telling you from the outside, you have a choice. You have a choice. And then you heard them and you chose to say, yes, I want to have this choice. It's time to move on. And so for me, I am proud of both of our stories because it talks about two very important things when it comes to like child rearing and raising your child, and specifically talking to breastfeeding, is that all mothers have different experiences and we need to honor all of their stories.
That's beautiful. It's so beautiful. And I think you just in that moment, that tiny little glimpse into each of our lives, how that kind of, it's such a big change with the culture, with those around us. But at the same time, it brought us both back inside ourselves to go, hey, I get to choose. This is me. This is, I mean, it's my body, it's my life. This is my family. This is my energy. And this is what I choose to create. And I loved breastfeeding. Absolutely loved it. Like, we worked out, because I've got 4 girls. And then I was pregnant up to like 4 months with another baby as well. So we worked out how long I've been pregnant, how long I've been breastfeeding, and it's like years. And you're like, wow. So my eldest daughter, she calls me Mummy Moo Moo, because I was always doing the feeding.
Yes.
And I love that. Like, I cherish it.
I love breastfeeding too. It was a wonderful experience for me. And I think in our own ways, it brought us back to being autonomous. It brought you back to being able to make your own choices. And it reminded me of who I am as a person. Like, I want to be autonomous and make my own choices. And the same for you. And I want all of our listeners to be autonomous and be able to know that they have choices. They can choose which path they follow.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, you know, whilst absolutely, for many people, breastfeeding doesn't work, but it's natural and it's being in touch with your body. So it's knowing if it feels right for you or it doesn't feel right for you. And whichever it is for you is perfect for you, and just as you said, like, be autonomous, take that choice, and stand firm for who you are and for what you believe, because it really matters. Like, how you're feeling, it matters. And you absolutely, if you take nothing else away, take that. You matter, and how you're feeling matters, and if you need support and stuff, then reach out for those around you, anywhere. There are so many of us there to support you. But if there's something that feels big, like, always remember to reach out, because you are never, ever alone. Never, ever, ever. There's always someone that's walked those steps before you. Yeah.
Exactly. And it's what becoming a mother is also all about, in a sense of choosing to take on those choices and stand by them gives you a power. It gives you the knowledge that you know yourself. Because for me, in my experiences, having a child was 100% debilitating. You become a different person in a span of 30 minutes. You feel a love that you've never felt in your life in a span of an instant. And your priorities instantaneously change. It's such an incredible experience. But you're also given this small human baby that you love more than your own life, but you have no idea how to take care of it. You don't know what to do or not to do. You have instincts, which are blessings and incredible, yet you still feel totally outside of yourself. You're just like, oh my gosh, how do I move forward? And at least this is how I felt. And I feel like there's so many women and first-time moms that can relate to this, is you just feel outside of your skin because you just don't even know what to do. And for me, listening to your choice when it comes to breastfeeding, or it comes to how you want your baby to be raised, gives you the power to remember that you're still yourself. Because for the next several months, it's going to be all about your baby. It's about you guys learning each other, you guys learning each other's energy, learning how to communicate, figuring out what the needs are between both of you, lack of sleep, waking up several times a night. And when you still feel like yourself among all that, because you're sticking with the choices that you are making along the way of the type of mother you want to become, then you still feel powerful. I find it's when everybody else is telling you how to be a mom, or how to raise your child, or how to give them a bath, or what to put them in when they sleep, or where they should sleep in your room or not in your room. That's when mothers start to really fall apart and crumble, because they feel like their instincts and the way that they want things to be is not enough. And we have to, as a collective society, uplift our young mothers, uplift the first-time mothers, uplift the long-term mothers, and empower them to make their choices and stand behind them and know that they are being the best mother that they can be.
100%. Yes.
We are in such alignment, Liz.
It's so beautiful. I've got all these ideas that just popped into my mind of things we can create together.
Absolutely.
But yeah, absolutely, because when you're a new mum, it can feel so isolating, because you're there and all this stuff is coming in from everywhere else around you, and again it's coming back into you. And even if you can only take a second, just close your eyes, connect back to you, take a breath, because it brings you naturally back into you. And just remember that you always matter, even in those moments when obviously you're that lifeline for that beautiful new baby. You're your lifeline too, and you still always matter. So I think that's what I'm feeling in this conversation. It's that you absolutely matter, and trust yourself. Yeah.
Yes, so much. Yes. Moving on to our next topic is, I want you to tell me about, how do you identify and cultivate your strengths, and identify and cultivate the strengths of others?
Ooh, okay, amazing. So for identifying strengths, it's noticing feedback. So whilst I'm saying all this stuff is coming in, actually feedback, I do take on. And from a really young age, I always was the listener. So I was always the one that people would come and tell things to. And I could hear, what different people were saying. So, when you have a conversation, and maybe when you're a kid, it's on the school playground, and someone's over here and they're saying this, and someone's over here and they're saying this, but you can tell actually they're saying the same thing. They're just speaking from different places. So the underlying message is the same. They want to do the same thing, but they cannot connect. And I was that mediator. I was that mediator, that listener in the school playground. And then as I went into work, it's what I ended up doing, within work. I was the employee rep. So I was just doing that. I can't think of the word, but it's where you take one language interpreter, and doing that, interpreting, mediating, and just bringing people back together. And now I do that with myself, bringing myself back together. and then supporting other people to do the same. Because you've got all these things that, you know, we were speaking just before we started, you know, the show, and people are trying to box you. They're trying to mold you into a certain something that they think you should be. But it's you enabling yourself to like listen and say, this is how I feel. This is who I am. And distinguish within yourself what's the outside chatter and what's really you. And so it's that same thing. It's the listening, it's the mediating, and then it's the bringing back together, because you are you, you're a complete, perfect you. So that's what I support others to do, the same as I support myself to do as an ongoing basis too, because the work is never done, right?
So the role of a listener has been a key role throughout your life, where this is the position, this is the role that you are meant to have in your life. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, and I think it comes into also like the leadership. So I think in a good leader, in a good mentor, in, for me, a good person. And I don't use the word good very often, but for me, it's that like the center of love. So that's good communication, it's good connection. So it's like love, light, and leadership. And a big part of that outwardly is the listening, is that being able to be calm and to listen, because from there you can connect all the parts of yourself back into one part, and you can support other people to do exactly the same. But yeah, so I think the listening, it's really massive. Like, we want to be seen, we want to be heard, we want to be understood, and then we want to be loved. So I've taken those journeys myself and then supporting other people to do them. But yeah, listening is coming in as like the strongest one, like today in this moment. So
yeah, so it's telling, it's a sign. It's telling that we need to talk about the art of listening and what that means through both of our perspectives. And for you, it's been like a lifeline or a spotlight in your life of like, this is part of who I am, and it is necessary that it's part of the business that I have, because it's what guides me, it's what I believe is the most important, it's what furthers my existence here on earth, and it's what, this is how I accumulate my clients, this is how I bring them back to themselves. And I think that's really a beautiful outlook on life. For me, I came to know I was a listener sort of in a roundabout way. And I've always loved talking. I've always loved communicating with people. I've always loved having deep conversations with people. But as I've grown and gotten older, what I realize is actually I love having authentic conversations with people that really get to the heart and soul of people, why they do the things they do, or why are they so passionate, or what is that light behind their eyes, or what is that darkness that they're not sharing. And those are the types of conversations that I like to have. And so sometimes I can be kind of overpowering when I'm in groups, because yes, I can do the small talk and I can, how are you doing? And we're doing this, and oh, that's great about your business. And I'm proud of you. And like, just, little bitty shallow glimpses into people's lives. But that's not what motivates me. That's not what I feel passionate about. It's like, I want to have a conversation with you individually and get to know who you are as a person. And sometimes that's intimidating for people, because they're like, wait, what? Whoa, I'm going to have real conversations with you. And they're not 100% used to it. And for me, that's been filtered in my life through I've been told countless amounts of times that I'm too direct and that I'm too forward with what I'm asking or what I'm thinking. And for me, I had to kind of take all of that and mix it all around and decide, how did I feel? What kind of person did I want to be? Because society was telling me like, this is not acceptable. Whereas in my heart, I knew that I was like, but this is the type of person I am. This is the type of person I want to be. And it's actually rather recently. I mean, I've always been climbing to that ladder, climbing the ladder of stepping into my sunshine and owning myself. But just this year, just this past summer, I was having a conversation with my husband, and he said, "You have a gift of communication." I looked at him like I was kind of crazy, like he was crazy. I was just like, what? And he goes, well, I've seen it time and time again that you start talking to people, you talk to them for like 10 or 15 minutes, and all of a sudden you come back and tell me like their life story or the things that have been happening in their life that are like really deep, or you made somebody cry, or you cried with somebody else. I'm like, well, doesn't everybody do that? And he was like, no, not everybody does that. And for him, that's a gift that he believes he doesn't have. And that in that moment, I realized that I was like, you're right. All of this has finally come together into a nice, very nice circle where this is the person I always wanted to be versus who everybody told me I should be. And then finally, one of the very closest people in my life and whose opinion really matters to me, my husband, was like, but you are already there. You just have to own it. And for me, that was such a joyous experience, an accumulation of like, this is me, and somebody accepts it.
Yeah, I love it. And with my husband now, we've gone on this journey. We've been through loads of highs and lows, you know, since I met him. And he now does exactly that. He sees me as me. And I've always been able to see other people as what they could be, like as who they really are deep down inside. But so many people have got so many layers in front of them, they don't know who they are. So I see who you are, and that scares people, you know, the same as you. It's that depth, and it scares people. And some people aren't ready to be that, and some people will never be ready to be the real selves. But like, it sounds like we're both so blessed that we've got partners that do now see us for who we are, and like we in turn see them for who they are. And that's so beautiful. Yeah, I love it.
Yes, me too. And me too. And I think our listeners, there'll be some that have the same type of partners and that they really champion who they are. And there'll be others that they don't have that kind of partner. And they may need to find another space where they can experience that same kind of uplifting and empowering environment so that they can expand and become the best versions of themselves.
Yeah, definitely. And let this moment be your moment to know that you have a choice. If you're in those spaces where people are just constantly bombarding you, you should be this, you should be that, you should do this, you should do that. Find your space. Let this be that beginning of that journey for you. And what will happen as you get stronger, you'll be able to step out of the spaces where it's not supportive, you know, it's pushing you down, and you deserve to, well, shine, step into that beautiful sunshine, step into you perfectly, because you're amazing exactly as you are now, and then as you are each step along your journey.
That is an incredible message that we all need to hear and that we can all relate to, and that we will carry in our hearts moving forward, and knowing that the best versions of ourselves is just being ourselves. The next question I would like to ask you is, how do you stay motivated and inspired in your work and in your life?
Ooh, I love it. So it's coming to that mission. So for me, I had a very similar journey. People told me all the things I should be, and I had to go at everything. You know, I've tried a lot of different jobs through the time. And what I ended up coming back to was the mission that I shared right at the beginning, was supporting other people to create their clear, calm, connected confidence. Again, it's that connection in there. And just know your worth. So that gives me that motivation every day. And for me, like my top value, my deepest, like anything, is love. And I feel that all the time. You know, I do sort of the Reiki, the animal Reiki, and that for me is just life energy. So if, you know, Reiki kind of stands out as a bit strange, like just think of it as that life energy that everybody's got within them. It's the sunshine. For me, it's the sunshine, it's the moonlight, you know, it's all of those things. So just coming back to that, the deepest part of me, that gives me that energy always, like even in the most dark moments, when I remember to take that moment to come back inside myself, that's where that comes from. Just that depth of connection with love, with myself, with everything else around me. And then back to that mission where I get to support other people to step into that same journey too.
I can really relate to this, because for me, when I think of my purpose or my meaning, or when I wake up at 5:30 in the morning and I think, why am I getting out of this bed? Why am I doing it? And it's always about my purpose. One of my major motivators is my daughter, but more than that is that I have known for years and years and years that one of my purposes in my life is to be a teacher, to be a communicator, to be talking with and expanding on people's stories, to further them in their careers or in their lives. And when I'm doing that, I feel so much in alignment that I'm just like, this is exactly where I'm meant to be in my life. This is my purpose. This is my calling. I must do this. I have to get out of bed because I'm so excited about what my day is going to look like, and the people I'm going to interact with, or the teachings that I'm going to do, or the trainings that I'm going to perform. It's just when I'm in this space, I feel like I feel unstoppable, to be totally honest. I feel just like my life is telling me, this is my path. Just listen. This is my path. Just listen. And I knew that years ago when I wanted to start a podcast. I knew that I was like, I should do this, but all of these naysayings on my shoulders and into society, you know, saying no. And I'm like, oh, maybe not yet. Maybe not yet. And then when I recorded the very first episode for this podcast, I knew, I could feel it inside me. I was like, yes, this is supposed to be where I am. I am meant to have a podcast. I am meant to share my story and other people's stories with the world and talk about them, uplift others, uplift the listeners who are tuning in, empower them and embolden them to make changes to their lives. Yes.
Absolutely.
So our last question today is, what advice would you give to someone who is trying to find their path in life?
Okay, so first of all, congratulations for knowing that that's what you want to do. Like, celebrate that and know to celebrate every single step along the way, each tiny step. And then make sure that you're taking a few moments for you every day. And you can begin with 3 seconds, because I get that life can be busy and you know you want to do this, but you're like, oh, well, not yet because this will take too long, and not yet because this. And so start with just 3 seconds and just ask yourself in that moment, how do I feel in this moment? And begin that. Just begin with that communication with yourself, that listening to yourself, building up that connection with yourself. And then slowly you can move out. And if you feel you can do more, do 3 minutes. Do 3 minutes and just go deep into yourself. What do you actually want right now in that moment? And then if you can, like, gift yourself whatever that is. And maybe it's a moment, you know, doing something you love. Maybe it's a little glass of water. Maybe you're dehydrated. Maybe it's looking at how to get more sleep, you know, over that next week. but do it in tiny, tiny steps. And just make sure that every day you take at least that one moment for yourself, just connecting back to you, noticing how you feel, noticing when you're ready, what you want. And I would begin there, and always, always reach out for support from the vast array of spaces. And start here. This is such a beautiful space. This is such a beautiful opportunity. You know, be involved with the podcast, like go deep into these other interviews, and you know, this is amazing. And step into your sunshine, because you absolutely deserve to.
Thank you so much for that beautiful advice, and that we can all take that to heart and implement it into our lives. I've had such a wonderful time speaking with you, Liz. I feel so connected to you. I feel like our souls are like on the same path, and it has been such a pleasure of mine to talk to you and to have you on this podcast. And I know so many people are going to listen to this and feel so uplifted and empowered.
Absolutely. I'm absolutely sourcing it. Thank you so much for inviting me into this space.
Would you mind sharing where they can get in contact with you if they would like to pursue working with you or talking with you more?
Yeah, of course. So I have loads of little freebies to get you started. And that's take3foryou.com. So it's TAKE, the digit 3, the digit 4, and then the letter U, and then .com or .co.uk, whichever comes up for you.
Thank you so much for sharing. Our next episode will air on June the 19th with another beautiful woman, and I hope that you are there listening. Thank you guys so much, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.
Bye.